Hey everyone, it's great to see you. And today, I'd like to talk about The Sims 2 for PlayStation 2. Developed by Maxis, rest in peace Maxis, and published by EA, Electronic Arts. This is a PlayStation 2 title released in 2005 and is meant to serve as a port of The Sims 2 for people playing it on PS2, I guess, right? I bought The Sims 2 with so many iterations available across a handful of consoles. I bought it for PlayStation 2 because one of the interesting things that I saw when I was researching this game is that it's actually a two-player game, and you can play it in split screen. And it kind of plays a little more like a third-person game if you choose to play it that way, because you control a character directly. You can do it the old school way if you want to, but you control a character directly. You run around the house and you do, Sims related tasks as always. And I thought, hey, this would be really fun to play with partner. And so I bought it so that we could try it together. And we played quite a bit of it. So I wanted to share my experience with you and kind of just talk about the game. So first and foremost, I played a lot of The Sims 2 on PC around the time it released. And when I was a kid, of course, the original The Sims was huge as well, and I played so many hours. But I really felt like this series hit a peak somewhere in The Sims 2 and 3, and it's probably your preference on which one you prefer more. But there was like just enough development from the first one, and it didn't go too far outside of what the original identity of The Sims was, that I thought it was a really great kind of middle place to put the series in terms of my favorite titles. So Sims 2, again, thought it would be fun to pick up and play, and so did just that. And so in typical Sims fashion, the game has a couple of options. There's just a free play where you can create a family and then you can move them into a home and play the game. And then there's also a story mode to this game, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, story mode, let's play that. So you choose whichever mode, and you choose 1 or 2 players, depending on, I think, how many controllers are plugged in, really. And then you create your character. And it's kind of funny because it randomizes your family trees, your grandparents, your parents, and then the sim you're creating. And even though that's the case, it then goes on to allow you to do quite a bit of editing to your sim. And one thing I'll say for this game is I was impressed with how much they stuffed into the experience. I mean, from the lens of playing The Sims, this is a pretty complete experience. I mean, you build the sim, you can choose their aspirations and some of their characteristics, and then when you're in the world, there's plenty of items to buy, plenty of ways to customize your home. There's places to go and explore and meet other people, and so I was really impressed with what they were able to do on the PlayStation 2 for The Sims. And one of the things we didn't do is, of course, open the packaging here. And that's because there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff. And I was actually kind of scared to, because on the disc piece here, there's actually a missing little bracket that holds the CD in. I don't know if you can see that. But so anytime I have this game in my hands, there's a loose disc flying around in there, bouncing around and things. And when we open up the manual, there's some manuals that'll come in full color, and then some that'll come in this grayscale, which is the type that I have. And there's nothing interesting here. There's a little bit about controls. There's a little bit about taking care of the needs of your sim, and then we get some standard kind of warranty stuff in here. And so I was trying to avoid that, but I figured I'll show you anyway, kind of what's happening in the packaging. So, back to what I was saying. So you start the story mode, and you're with your other player in this instance because we're playing split screen. And the story mode's weird because I don't even think there's really a story. I think it's really just whatever aspiration you choose, fulfilling. You get wants, you get fears, you get, or I guess goals and fears, and of course you want to do more goals. So like I chose the creative aspiration, and so your character will, take care of a bonsai plant, or sell a painting for more than $100. And when you do these kind of things, you get these aspiration points. I guess you get money essentially, and then you can use that to purchase better goods for your home and so on and so forth. One of the things that was frustrating about the story experience is not only the lack thereof, but when you start the story, you don't choose a home to go live in. You instead are forcefully moved in with 2 roommates. And these roommates are awful. They're awful people. They destroyed my bathroom. They flooded the whole bathroom. There's trash all over my kitchen. And so the only way I could kind of keep him in check and keep him in line, or oh my gosh, another one. I bought a computer so I could look up some jobs, but it took I and my competitive co-op partner here like a good 2-day cycle to do so, because one of them was just always on the computer playing computer games. And I'm like, dude, calm down, let me use the computer. And so that was really frustrating. And so I started thinking to myself, well, we'll kick them out. And so we got our relationship level down like super low, like -100, as close as we could get it. And we're trying to kick them out, but the Sims are just saying, oh, you can't kick me out, I live here. So later did I come to realize, oh, in the story mode, these roommates are here to stay. And then, so that's a thing. And then also, we thought, okay, well, let's do some old school Sims techniques of just having fun. And when one of them goes to sleep, we'll build a wall around their bed, and then they can't get out of bed, and they just lay there, and then they unfortunately die. But at least they're out of our lives, and we have our homes to ourselves. And eventually the Sim just disappeared from the bed. We're like, where are they? And then the next thing we see, they're jumping on the trampoline outside. So I was like, okay, great. So the Sims 2 story mode specifically, that's kind of unfortunate. And we had sunk 3 or 4 hours into playing and dealing with these frustrating roommates of ours. So then I said, okay, well, we'll go over to free play. And unfortunately, you can't bring your Sims. So we had to create new Sims. And then we buy a lot. And then it turns out all of the lots that I saw, at least, had no home on it. So you need to build a whole home. It's like, well, we have a sunk cost here on the story mode side. Let's just play that instead. And so we did just that. And so, that was kind of frustrating overall. The gameplay itself is your standard fare Sims game. You have to take care of your Sims. You have to get them to bed and make sure they use the bathroom and make sure that they, cook some food and eat it. In The Sims 2, and maybe this is just because I'm used to a more modern, contemporary Sims 4 experience, but the needs of the Sims, especially food, are really hard to maintain. I mean, when you start the game with the standard fridge, the standard cooking skills, one meal is not going to feed your Sim. I mean, you have to be cranking out meals constantly to keep up with it. And so some of these things kind of hinder your ability to, how shall I say, enjoy the game outside of, having a task list at all times for your Sims. Once you get a job, and at least this was my experience on the creative path, the game doesn't have a weekday cycle, and so as a result your Sim works every single day, which in some ways is okay because you get more money more consistently without having days off. But at the same time, I couldn't go out and explore the world because my Sim was constantly working. And I think some of the hours there are a little reduced. Like my schedule was 9 to 2 for parts of the career. So I guess you could go out and do things. But again, you get home and then you're Sim super hungry, or you have to get some sleep and catch up on that. And so I felt this game, at least compared to my recollection of Sims games and experiences, was a little more tedious. And not only more tedious, but because you're generally controlling your Sim one-on-one, means you're spending a lot of time running around doing these things as opposed to building a task list and then speeding up time. And that is one thing that's really frustrating actually about playing these games with a second player, is that unless your schedule's aligned where you're working together or sleeping together, so on and so forth, you can't fast forward time, which makes sense from the lens of both characters. Yeah, I mean, how can one character speed up when the other can't? And maybe there's a way, and I just couldn't figure it out, and I didn't think of a creative method to do so. But because we couldn't fast forward time, that means that the pace of play is very slow and often requires one person to just kind of be sitting around waiting for the other character. Like, one character might be super exhausted and need to sleep, but my character's wide awake because our work hours were different. So I'm up painting all night. But I can't speed up time when doing painting, and they can't speed up time when they're sleeping. And so we're just slowly watching these bars, you know, increase and increase and increase. And then when you wake up, of course, okay, now we got to go back to making food, and now we have to go back to going to work, and then so on and so forth. So, you know, I thought that was kind of challenging to the overall fun of the split screen experience of a Sims game. The sound, standard fare Sims sounds, standard fare Sims music, and so I'm not going to comment too much on that. But I do really like Sims music. I mean, you're vibing most of the time, especially in like build mode. The games have really great build mode music, and so that was fun. And graphically, I think this game looks okay. It's definitely, I went and revisited what Sims 2 looks like when you're playing it on PC, and it's definitely not that. But it's you know, it does what it needs to do. Your characters look like Sims. They look like people, and a lot of the furnitures and home design, it looks good whether you're kind of zoomed in or zoomed out. So decent, pretty decent, I would say. Okay. That's a lot of what I wanted to rant about on The Sims 2. We cut our play short. I didn't complete the game because it was just feeling like it was going to take a really, really long time to do in a co-op experience, which is the experience I wanted to have with the title. And so, yeah, that's about all I wanted to say about the game. It's fine, and I'm sure at the time when it came out on PlayStation 2 it was even finer. But I would say that The Sims really feels like a PC experience where you play by yourself, and this game for me kind of solidified that belief. And so wanted to see, okay, am I crazy? Did you have these experiences playing The Sims 2 on PS2? Or if you have some tips on ways I could have sped up time, you know, I think that alone would have significantly improved the quality of the gaming experience. But I think this is a pass overall. It was fun to play and just kind of go back and experience a little bit about what The Sims was like in the historic era, so to speak. But overall, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please like the video, and would love for you to subscribe and stick around to chat more about video games with me. Well, until next time, hope you're well, and take care. Thanks for tuning in.